announcements.
Honorable members, I have a few announcements to make. Firstly, in regard to the Parliamentary Committee set up for the monitoring of the Financial Crimes Commission, pursuant to Section 129(2) and 3 of the Financial Crimes Commission Act, the Honorable Prime Minister has, on 15 April 2024, designated the following honorable members to serve on the Parliamentary Committee. Honorable Marie-Joanne Sabrina Tour, Deputy Chief Government Whip. Honorable Nantrakas Ramcharan, PPS. Honorable Marie-Alexandra Tianabiol, PPS. And Honorable Ashley Itu. Furthermore, I have to inform the House that the Honorable Prime Minister has designated Honorable Mohammed Salim Abbas Mahmoud as chairperson of the said committee. Honorable members, in regard to members of the opposition side, once the Honorable Leader of the Opposition designates members of the opposition to serve on the committee, I shall make the appropriate announcement. Thank you. Honorable members, the sitting reference is made to the sitting of Tuesday, 23rd April 2024. The Honorable Bagwan is reported to have stated in l'Express newspaper of Wednesday, 17th April 2024, in regard to the new seating arrangement, I quote, a été fait exprès par le speaker et une fonctionnaire pour embarrasser l'opposition. I wish to set records straight and refer honorable members to Standing Order 6 of the Standing Orders, which expressly provides as follows. The allocation to members of seats in the Assembly chamber shall be made by the Speaker. Clear. I totally assume my responsibility in accordance with the aforementioned provision. The dragging of a civil servant in this matter is most regretful, inappropriate, and unjust. Honorable members, furthermore, regarding the seating arrangement, reference has also been made in the press to the practice which obtains in the House of Commons. I reiterate that the allocation of seats is expressly provided for in the Standing Order 6 of our Standing Orders. In the light of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 1, since allocation of seats is expressly provided for in our Standing Orders, it does not serve any purpose to refer to the practice which obtains in the UK House of Commons. I thank you for your attention. I have a third announcement. I also have to inform the House that I have received a letter from the Honorable Juman requesting me to tender apologies. Surprisingly, the letter, though addressed to me in person, found its way in the press, which in itself is improper. Honorable members, I wish to inform the House. As a Speaker, I am accountable to the House and not to third parties acting on behalf of their colleagues. Concerning the incident of last Tuesday, it is on record that both the Honorable Béranger and Honorable Bagwan uttered insulting words such as sauvage, bachara, voleur, suceur in Parliament, which is the source of the said incident we are referring to. When asked whether they were prepared to withdraw and apologize, they categorically refused. In that respect, I find that such attitude from two senior members most regretful. I would have readily tendered my apologies had the honorable members done so. And in fact, one day I can review all the records and state in an announcement to this House on how many occasions honorable members have refused to tender apologies and have refused to withdraw unbecoming words and accusations against the Speaker. I thank you for your attention.
Papers have been laid. Questions?
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I have given notice to the Honourable Minister of National Infrastructure and Community Development of a question, and the question is as follows. Whether in regard to the flooding of the 15th of January and 21st of April 2024, he will, for the benefit of the House, obtain from the Land Drainage Authority information as to the number of drains projects implemented and completed, including the Atruisseau du Pouce, Monseigneur Line, Canal d'Ayo, La Butte, and Les Salines, an additional outlet from Place d'Armes to Caudan, indicating the cost, name of the contractors, and starting and completion dates thereof. B, state the measures taken by government to mitigate the impact thereof. And C, state if consideration will be given for a dedicated complaints desk to be put in place for the fast tracking of compensation to be paid to all victims.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish at the very first instance to express my sympathy and solidarity and that of the government to all the families affected by the flooding of the 21st April 2024. The House will appreciate that the question of the Leader of the Opposition is quite broad, and for the benefit of the House and in the interest of the population, it requires a comprehensive and detailed reply, so please bear with me. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is a fact that with climate change, we are witnessing extreme weather conditions across the world.
My good friend, the Honourable Minister, has stated that he has to be comprehensive. I totally agree. But the standing orders say that you, Mr. Speaker, have control not on the contents of the question, the answer, but you have control over relevance. That is in our standing orders. So I would like you, Mr. Speaker, to pay very much attention to what is being said.
I disregard your point of order. You're giving me order. You are giving me, you say, I would like you to pay much attention. Stop there, you continue. There is no request in point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
I have already ruled.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. As said again, I'll start this paragraph again. It is a fact that with climate change, we are witnessing extreme weather conditions across the world. Not far back as last week, Dubai, Oman, Pakistan, and the Republic of China, which this morning I've learned est passé en alerte rouge, among others, have been severely hit by heavy rainfall, which caused unprecedented flooding, and in some cases even leading to casualties. Mauritius, being one of the vulnerable small island states, has unfortunately not been spared. The highest rainfalls recorded, as per the Mauritius Meteorological Services, on 15 January 2024 and 21st April 2024 are as follows. 15 January, Albion, 133.4 millimeters. Beaubassin, 140. Belle Village, 107. Chitrakoot, 143. Moka, 150. Nouvelle Découverte, 156. Providence, 174. Quatre-Bonnes, 164. Port-Louis, Champ-de-Mars, 123. Rivière-Noire, 78. On the 21st April 2024, Albion recorded 302. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a record level of rainfall intensity in the region of Albion. Domaine-les-Pailles, 232. Champ-de-Mars, 194. Beaubassin, 190. Belle Village, 183. Moka, 165. Chitrakoot, 163. Port-Louis, 162. Nouvelle Découverte, 119. Richter, 103. Quatre-Bonnes, 102. Mr. Speaker, sir, The main regions impacted in January 2024 were Codan, La Bourdonnais Street, Paille, Tringbar, Vallée-Pitot, Canal d'Ayo, Place d'Armes, La Chaussée Street, La Poudrière Street, Motorway M1, City Center, Mont-Saint-Yaline, Vallée des Prêtres, and Le Cornu, Sainte-Croix. Whereas on the 21st April 2024, the main regions impacted were Port-Louis, Tringbar, Carolalo, Vallée des Prêtres, Pointe-aux-Sables, Richelieu, Canal d'Ayo, Albion, Geoffroy-Bambou, Meldrum-Beaubassin, Coromandel, and Bell Village, among others. Mr. Speaker, sir, on several occasions, I have stated in this August Assembly itself that government has taken bold initiatives to provide an unprecedented budget of 11.7 billion for the implementation of the National Flood Management Program, which had been prepared during the elaboration of the Land Drainage Master Plan. With regard to part A of the question, I'm informed that as at 31st March 2024, under the National Flood Management Program, on a total of 1,742. And here, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to highlight that during the preparation of the Land Drainage Master Plan in July 2021, we identified 1,400 projects. And now, it has become 1,742, which means we are here dealing with a very dynamic situation. And these 1,742 projects are deemed to be implemented over a period of five financial years. 539 projects to the tune of 3.8 billion have been completed as a date. Some 114 projects for a total amount of 3.3 billion are ongoing. That is their work on site. And are at different stage of construction. Moreover, 150 drain projects for an estimated amount of 2.8 billion are at bidding stage. If we want un ordre de grandeur, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the year 2005 to 2014, there was only 3.8 billion rupees were spent. That is, this government has spent in 3 years what they took 10 years to execute. It is to be noted that 737 million under the NFMP was disbursed for the financial year 21-22 and 1.6 billion for the financial year 22-23 and 1.5 billion for the financial year 23-24. The Land Drainage Authority has identified so far 306 flood-prone areas, of which 62 have been declared high-risk flood-prone. 20 projects in those high-risk flood-prone have been completed. 13 are under construction and another 10 are at bidding stage. The implementation of the National Flood Management Program falls under 4 bodies, namely the Drain Infrastructure Construction Limited, the National Development Unit, the Road Development Authority, and the local authorities is spearheaded by the Land Drainage Authority. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to emphasize that climate adaptation is not a one-off undertaking for this government or any other government for that purpose, but it is a long-term planning and implementation of various programs. In this respect, I wish to reiterate that my ministry has already implemented 539 great projects and not 34 projects or any other number which is being misreported. In fact, for financial year 22-23, 34 new drain projects were awarded for implementation by NDU only. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that Port Louis is bordered, as we know, by the mountain range upstream and is in fact a trough that is a cuvette by nature of its topography, and downstream it is bordered by the sea. Accordingly, the discharge of surface runoff is highly dependent on the tidal level. In event of a concurrent scenario of a torrential rain and storm surge, the evacuation of floodwaters is inhibited due to the fact of tidal locking. This causes a rapid rise in the water level in the low points, namely La Poudrière Street, Codan, and La Chaussée Street. Mr. Speaker, sir, all the possible scenarios for flood mitigation measures have been investigated, and the following structural measures have been recommended to mitigate the flooding in the city center of Port-Louis. Ruisseau du Pouce, raising of existing bank walls varying from 0.5 meters to 3 meters at different locations. Reconstruction of several bridges across Ruisseau du Pouce, including Gayasing Bridge and 2 bridges in Codan premises. Demolition of Baden-Powell Bridge. Demolition of the cover slab on Ruisseau du Pouce from Majestic Cinema to La Chaussée Street, the Hawkers area. Relocation of services hindering flow along Ruisseau du Pouce. Demolition of the existing slab covering Ruisseau du Pouce. Making good and reinstate the existing canal, including the bedding, jointing, etc. Monseigneur-Lin, La Butte, and Les Salines. Second, construction of RC covered drain along Monseigneur-Lin over a stretch of approximately 860 meters. Construction of RC covered drain along Old Moka Road over a stretch of approximately 535 meters. Construction of RC covered drain along Pearl Fercy Adèle Street. Construction of RC covered drain along A1 Road over a stretch of approximately 875 meters. Upgrading of open drain adjacent to court building across Menagerie Road up to existing drain along motorway M1 to an RC canal of dimension 1 meter wide and 1 meter deep. Construction of RC covered drain varying from 500 to 1,500 millimeters wide by 500 to 1,200 millimeters deep in the region of Les Salines. Construction of RC covered drain at Codan Roundabout up to the sea outlet. And thirdly, Canal d'Ailleux, reconstruction of Roussel Bridge, raising of wall on both banks at Canal d'Ailleux, desilting of the Canal d'Ailleux itself, extension of an internal drains and installation of flap valve at the outlet to prevent backflows. Place d'Orme to Codan. Fourth, construction of an additional outlet drain of 55 meters and size 2,000 millimeter by 600 millimeter across Port-Louis waterfront. Construction of a new flap valve and relocation of services. Reinstatement works to enable the placing of a high-volume submersible pump to allow the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Services to evacuate water in extreme conditions. Moreover, for Codan, in the context of the Metro project, 2 drain projects of size 2 meter by 1 meter and over a stretch of 120 meters have already been implemented. Mr. Speaker, sir, the impact of flooding noted on the 21st April 2024 was much lesser as compared to the flooding event of 30 March 2013 at Codan. In 2013, along motorway M1, a flood mark of 90 millimeters was recorded, causing several vehicles to be trapped and also causing loss of life. Whereas in 21st April 2024, a flood mark of around 20 centimeters was recorded for a higher rain intensity. These outcomes bear testimony that all our efforts geared towards mitigating flooding in the region of Port-Louis have been effective. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part A1, 2, and 3 of the question, the honorable member will appreciate that the information sought in respect of the list of contractors involved in each of the 539 completed projects with the cost of each project, as well as the starting and completion date, is quite voluminous and is time-consuming exercise. I will accordingly table the required information as a later stage as this is being compiled. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part B of the question, This government is sparing no effort to implement any technically feasible measures to mitigate flooding problems in Mauritius. It is for the first time ever that a government has commissioned a land drainage master plan for Mauritius, and again, it is this government that has provided such an unprecedented budget to implement the National Flood Management Program. The problem of flooding is being looked into a scientific and holistic manner as opposed to a piecemeal and localized approach. The world is facing dramatic changes of climate change where each and every year records in terms of temperature and torrential rain are being registered. Accordingly, full avoidance of flooding is not feasible. It is greatly related to climate-related impacts. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have to stress that strategically it is incorrect to talk about avoidance, but rather mitigation as it is the case worldwide. I wish to reiterate that there is no dry feet policy to combat flooding events. No government can eliminate the impact or the risk of flooding and climate change. We can only implement mitigating measures and protect lives of our citizens. And this is what we have been doing with the 539 projects. As a proactive measure, the LDA has been nominated in the following committees: the Land Conversion Committee, the Mo-Selma Board, the EIA Committee. The LDA also advises the local authorities in the processing of BLUPs. All future developments are being examined in respect of the land use planning, and appropriate recommendations are issued accordingly. Mr. Speaker, sir, much has also been said about the number of projects so far implemented, which is deemed to be a slow progress. But Mr. Speaker, sir, dealing with flooding is not like having, to borrow the word of my GM of the RDA, it's not a set of question papers where you have 10 questions and you tick them all and then you are done. Here, we are into mitigation. It's a fight against climate change. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have to point out that the challenges encountered in the implementation of projects, namely issues related to land acquisition and successful bidding exercise and wayleaves, have resulted in unpredictable delays. However, despite these constraints, my ministry, and in particular the LDA, are sparing no effort to achieve the desired outcome in building resilience to flooding problems. Furthermore, it is noteworthy that the design parameters are reviewed by the LDA on a regular basis to adapt to the dynamic of climate change. Innovative measures are thus being introduced and implemented, such as detention basins, sustainable urban drainage system, and major cut-off swales. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that despite all constraints I have enumerated so far, I'm satisfied that the projects completed by the implementing agencies, that is the NDU, the RDA, the DICL, and the local authorities, have given the desired outcomes. For instance, in the recent past, the region of Saint-Jean was adversely impacted during heavy rainfall, and this was subject to a PNQ in November last. In fact, my ministry has implemented measures in a very short span of time, which have proven to be effective. In spite of 102 millimeters of rainfall recorded on the 21st April 2024 in the region of Quatre Bornes, both the Saint-Jean Cemetery and the inhabitant downstream along Colville and Broad Avenues have been protected against inundation. Certainly, road users have not forgotten.
But, Honourable Minister, don't refer to Quatre Bornes. I think this question refers to Port Louis area.
It's included.
Continue with that.
Mr. Speaker, sir, but the question also asks me specific answers about Port Louis, but illustrates a very general one. Let's talk about. Mr. Speaker, sir, certain road users have not forgotten their calvaire due to the flooded bridges at Anjoncé, Tatamaka, Saint-Denis, Samarel, Soisy Bridge, at Poste de Flac, to mention a few. In addition, the following projects are either ongoing or in the pipeline by the RDA, namely Roussel Bridge at Canal d'Aïeux, Brunecal Bridge, culvert on motorway M1 near Food Canners, and STR Marketing, Four-Pied Bridge, Pamplemousse, additional outlets at Codan, among others. Mr. Speaker, sir, major retention basins have been constructed to contain substantial overland flow, and this was done a bit all over the island. Mr. Speaker, sir, several residential flood-prone areas are located downstream of major agricultural land and mountain slopes. Conventional drainage infrastructure will not be able to contain the flooding problems. To that effect, major cut-off swales have been designed and being implemented in several localities across the island once again. Mr. Speaker, sir, slopes and embankment along our roads are other features which are severely impacted by floods, and this may endanger the lives and livelihood of our citizens and the road users. We have not ignored this aspect, and constantly we are implementing measures to stabilize the slopes. To mention a few, the recent work which have been successfully completed and which have stood the test of recent floods are landslide at Chamarel, at Rivière des Créoles, Baclaz, Suyac. There has also been rock purging at Macondi. In addition, similar works at Rivière des Anguilles and Chamarel are ongoing. Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I will now elaborate on measures initiated in the region which have been impacted during the rainfall of Sunday last and which I've mentioned earlier. These include drain works at Raoul Rivette Street and Lord Kitchener, raising of wall along Rousseau du Pouce, construction of bridges at Mayor Barthélemy and La Brilane Street, demolition of slab and other structures, raising of walls along Rousseau du Pouce, Créole, upgrading of work along La Poudrière Street, raising of the wall at Canal d'Aïeux, drain works at Cité Mobilac and Sorez, upgrading of drains at Mamelon Vert, Vallée-Pitot, extension of drain along Inkermani Street, Vallée-Pitot.
Is it a point of order you're raising? You have to ask me. You have to intimate. Please listen to me first. Please listen to me first. You have to intimate your question, your point of order. I should know this is a point of order. You cannot, like in a discussion, in a speech or whatever, in a reply, just stand up or shout and. This is not parliamentary. This is not parliamentary behavior, honorable leader of the opposition. Try to be polite. That's all.
Could you please try to take into consideration?
No, you can't do that. You must say this is a point of order. I listen to your point of order. You can't engage a conversation with the speaker. You can't do that. You're a seasoned lawyer. Quiet here. You are a seasoned lawyer. You should know how to address the speaker. Please.
Could you please, therefore, on the point of order, he has taken more than 23 minutes out of 30. Could you please?
This is not a point of order. This is my jurisdiction. You're questioning my jurisdiction. You keep quiet. Let the minister continue. The minister continue.
Mr. Speaker, sir, beside structural work I've mentioned so far, cleaning and desilting our watercourse have also been undertaken to mitigate inundation due to riverine flooding. And so far, we have desilted 160 kilometers of rivers, which involve Ruisseau du Pouce, Latanier, Riboulette-Terrouze, and many others. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part C of the question, as the honourable member is aware, the issue of compensation of victims of flooding does not fall under the purview of my ministry. This concerns other authorities, and I'm informed that there are well-established procedures for payment of compensation. For instance, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that as at 9 a.m. this morning, 735 persons have requested for assistance for compensation. However, I wish to highlight that irrespective of the compensation payable to affected families and depending on the nature and the severity of each case, appropriate additional support is provided to these persons. For example, in the case of affected person at Tembo, the Honorable Prime Minister himself had a meeting, met the families yesterday, and necessary measures are being undertaken to provide appropriate support and relief to them. There couldn't be any faster track than this, than being received by the Prime Minister himself. And here, I wish to assure the House that every possible measure will be undertaken in consultation with these families. On a concluding note, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are at war with the challenges of climate change, and we should all rally behind the Prime Minister and the government to win this war. And there is no space for cheap political gain or voters trying to use those families for their political gain. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Mr. Speaker, he has taken 26 minutes. I hope that you will exercise your discretion to give me some more time to put 5 important questions of national importance on the issue of flooding.
You cannot quantify your questions. You start by one.
Mr. Speaker, is the Honourable Minister saying that the Director of Audit, in his report, when he says, I quote at page 348, that only 34 drains during the financial year 2022-2023, only 34 drains contracted were awarded for 457 million compared to 84 contracts awarded in the preceding financial year, and that significant funds remain unspent, several projects are not being implemented. And it goes on to say at page 349, out of 72 projects identified in high-risk flood-prone areas, 26 were transferred to DICL and 1 to RDA. No project was transferred to local authorities. And the director goes on to describe how everything is slow in terms of implementation. And it says the slow implementation of projects implies that these projects were not made available to citizens on a timely basis. This thus may cause harm to the population. Is this report of the Director of Audit, where he condemns and says that there's been failure at the level of the Honourable Minister's ministry and departments, is he saying that the Director of Audit is wrong?
Now, don't indulge in any debate. You already put 3 questions. If you don't know, you've put 3 questions. Let the Minister answer.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I've already given all the details of what my ministry has spent over different financial years. And as at date, we have already implemented 539 projects. I don't want to repeat myself. The honorable member may take a point of order. But then, as I've said already, that the only place I see the 34 was 34 new projects. There are also so many other projects ongoing being implemented. And I've already also mentioned about the difficulties that we sometimes have to allocate contract, where there is the wayleave issue, there's the land acquisition issue that takes its own time. Very often we have challenges that we have to defend in court. So we have to deal with all this. And despite all, in the proper procedures are being respected, we follow all required procedures, and projects are being implemented. Regarding projects being allocated to local authorities, this is not my ministry that allocate projects to local authorities. They have their own set of projects. They request funding with the LDA to implement their project. They have their own set of projects. I can't be held liable for what hasn't been done at the level of local authorities.
Mr. Speaker, on the 28th of March 2023, the Honorable Omir, as well as on the 15th of March of this year, Honorable Shakeel Mohamed, both wrote one to the Honorable Minister, the first one, whereby the issue of Wisodupus and the danger represented precisely to those houses, the house that has Kiasede, those people many houses, because of the work going on in Wisodupus that is being wrongly done, There was a petition that was also sent to the Honourable Minister back in 2023. And this year, on the 15th of March, Honourable Mohamed wrote an email to the PPS, Honourable Mayotte, whereby both those correspondences, which I beg leave to table, with all the photographs that were sent to you, Honourable Minister, and Honourable PPS, both have been left unattended. Therefore, could you please explain to the House why is it that ever since last year, there has been no supervision whatsoever with regards to those projects that have led to those houses being affected, and the damage and prejudice and criminal negligence against those people is at your footstep, Honourable Minister. Could you please therefore apologize at least to those people?
Please, I stop you there. I stop you there. The minister hasn't had to apologize, anything.
Mr. Speaker, sir, firstly, I haven't received any of those letters. The leader, Honorable Leader of Opposition is talking about. They may love as much as they want. We have a dispatch book. Whenever letters are received, someone need to be signed, so we are well recorded. We know we can retrace whatever. And I invite the leader of the opposition to come and check for himself the dispatch book of the ministry, firstly. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, whether there have been negligence or not, my ministry has already set up an independent committee that will be led by the engineers of the National Infrastructure Division of the ministry, also by the engineers of the NDA, to investigate on the whole matter. You will agree that this may also involve eventually the insurance of the contractor or that of the consultant. So at this point, I don't think it will be proper for me to comment on this, as it may hinder the inquiry and eventually a procès en cours. So I don't want that eventually whatever I say in Parliament may become part of the case eventually. I'll let the engineers advise accordingly the report, and then if we need to share the report with the Parliament, we will do so.
Mr. Speaker.
I'm over. We move to Prime Minister's question time. Honourable member, the table have been advised that PQB 233 will be replied by the Honourable Minister of Public Service, Administrative and Institutional Reform. PQB 250 will be replied by the Honourable Prime Minister, time permitting. I now call Honourable Ramphal.
E230. Mr. Speaker, sir, fingerprint identification is a unique and valuable system used by law enforcement agencies worldwide for the identification of suspects involved in crimes. I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that pursuant to sections 221 and 222 of the Criminal Procedure Act, the police is empowered to collect fingerprints of any person arrested on suspicion of having committed a crime, and also of any person who has been convicted of a crime. As such, the fingerprints are taken on Police Form 19 and 20 for male and for female respectively. The prints are thereafter matched with prints collected from scenes of crime or with existing database for identification of suspects at the Police Crime Record Office by trained and authorized police personnel. I am further informed by the Commissioner of Police that with technological advancement in the field, the Mauritius Police Force decided to digitalize the process of scanning, storage, and matching of fingerprint slips, crime scene prints. The existing digital system allows for the rapid comparison of fingerprints found at scenes of crime with those stored in a database of known fingerprints, helping the police to identify suspects or link individuals to past criminal activities. The system is also used for background checks, identity verification, and maintaining criminal records. The main features of the system comprise scanning of all fingerprints, slips, and crime scenes prints, storage of prints of convicted persons as well as unsolved scene of crime prints, matching of fingerprints, including detection and identification of suspects and accused, and generating a short list of similar prints from database for verification and comparison by fingerprint expert. Thus, the State Informatics Limited was awarded a contract to implement a fingerprint analysis and criminal tracing system, commonly known as FACS-free, for the digitalization of fingerprints. State Informatics Limited enlisted the services of Computer Maintenance Corporation Limited, Hyderabad, India, for its implementation. Subsequently, the State Informatics Limited was ensuring hardware maintenance of the system under a hardware maintenance agreement. As regards software maintenance, same was provided by the State Informatics Limited with the assistance of Computer Maintenance Corporation Limited, India, under a software maintenance agreement. In 2004, the system software was upgraded to FACS 5, and its new additional operational functions were as follows: matching of fingerprints, speed enhanced by 50%, bulk matching of unsolved crime scene prints, generating matching reports, and higher connectivity of remote query from police stations, including those in Rodrigues. In 2015, State Informatics Limited recommended another upgrade of the whole system from FACS 5 to FACS 7, comprising the following additional features: upgrading of operating system, live scanning of fingerprints and palm prints, matching of palm prints, and enhanced searching capabilities and hit ratio. However, State Informatics Limited informed that as its partner, Computer Maintenance Corporation Limited, India, which was giving assistance for software implementation and maintenance, was taken over by another Indian company in the year 2016, it would not be possible to upgrade the system from FACS 5 to FACS 7, as recommended at that point in time. However, State Informatics Limited did keep a working arrangement with the new company to ensure the smooth running of the software while continuing the hardware maintenance. Mr. Speaker, sir, the average lifespan of complex IT system is 7 to 10 years, which can be extended by proper maintenance and technology refresh through upgrading and replacement of obsolete subcomponents with a view to keeping pace with digital evolution and technological advancement. It is in this context that the present system has been refreshed in 2004 from FACS 3 to FACS 5, and also the main server was replaced in 2017. Furthermore, in the light of rapid evolution in crime management, sophistication of the mode of operation of criminals, and also development in the ICT field, the police at the end of the year 2016 proposed to acquire a new high-tech system with the latest technological features called the Automated Fingerprint Identification System to replace FACS 5. I am informed that consequently, the services of the Central Informatics Bureau were sought by the police in February 2017 for the technical specifications and cost estimate of the new project. The Automated Fingerprint Identification System was expected to provide a full-fledged system to replace the existing servers and equipment and to interface with a criminal attribute database of the Mauritius Police Force. The main features of the new system were expected to 1. Provide a state-of-the-art image processing and pattern recognition algorithm to capture, encode, store, and match fingerprints and palm prints automatically at very high speed and precision. 2. Match fingerprints and palm prints not only for personal identification cases, but also for highly reliable matching of scene of crime prints. 3. Provide an integrated system so that it is compatible with latest operating system on the market. 4. Put in place a system that is also compatible with criminal attribute database systems. 5. Migrate the existing data such as fingerprints and data from the criminal attribute database to the new system. 6. Streamline the flow of data among several offices of the Crime Record Office and other remote query stations, including Rodrigues. 7. Provide adequate inbuilt redundancy to ensure resilience of key data. And 8. Prevent access to unauthorized persons by implementing appropriate access control on the system. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am further informed by the Commissioner of Police that with a view to procuring the new automated fingerprint identification system, tenders were launched the first time on 19th of February 2018 through the e-procurement system. 5 bids were received at the bid opening. Whilst 3 bidders were technically not responsive, the remaining 2 responsive bidders quoted above the estimated cost. The Departmental Bid Committee thus recommended the relaunching of a tender with revised specifications and estimated cost. On 11th of November 2020, tender was relaunched, 4 bids were received, and only 1 bidder was responsive. On 27th August 2021, a letter of award was issued to the only responsive bidder. However, the bidder failed to submit the performance security as per the terms and conditions of the award, despite the validity period having been extended twice at his request. Consequently, the award was cancelled on 10th of November 2021. In view of the complexity of the system and the past unsuccessful procurement processes, new tenders were launched a 3rd time on 14th of February 2023, with the closing date being 26th of April 2023. The tendering process was cancelled on 24th April 2023, inasmuch as the police, in consultation with the Central Informatics Bureau, found that a new integrated system, which combines both the criminal attribute database and automated fingerprint identification system, would be more efficient to operate. However, in view of the fact that many foreign law enforcement agencies were using another system called the Automated Biometric Identification System, consideration was given to implement the Automated Biometric Identification System, which will have additional crime prevention and detection features. The specification of the new system have already been prepared by the Central Informatics Bureau in consultation with the police. This exercise has been completed on 16th of April 2024. Based on these specifications, the police is also examining the legal framework that need to be put in place for its implementation. Taking into account the fast technological advancement and the complexity of the proposed new system, the assistance of friendly countries is currently being sought for its implementation. Thank you.
the Honorable Prime Minister tell us since when has this system become obsolete, and can he tell us how can there be effective policing given the situation of law and order when we have a system which is so important for the police to identify suspects?
Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, it depends what the honorable member means by obsolete. Because in the IT sector, once you acquire an equipment, we can say like every year there is improvement in the technology. So if we say obsolete means that there are new equipment on the market with new features, with added provisions to enhance the issue of fingerprint identification and so on, then it is an ongoing process. Like I have just said in my answer, the police decided at one time to launch a tender. And then, well, there have been numerous problems, as I have stated, because bidders did not abide by the conditions, and therefore the bid had to be cancelled. I don't want to repeat again what I said. I hope the honorable member has listened carefully. But in the meantime, there has been great progress in terms of technology. Now, the latest that is being used by other law enforcement agencies, like in UK, France, and so on, India, for example, is that they have included biometric features also. So if we have to purchase an equipment, be it that we purchase an equipment that is up to date, that is available with the latest features as at today. So that is why I must say it has taken time. I've looked at the report of the audit report also. They have said, why is it taking so much time? And that the prices also have been increasing. Yes, because technology is fast evolving, is fast growing. And now we hope with the support of experts from friendly countries, we will be able to launch this tender, this procurement exercise, I mean, because we don't know exactly how we will go about for procuring this equipment. In terms of the procurement process, I mean.
The Honorable Minister will agree with me that as per the observations of the Director of Audit, there has been inadequate management of the tender exercise, the specifications, and so on. And will the Honorable Prime Minister agree that the initial cost of the project back in 2018 was 20 million, and now the cost of the project is costing the taxpayers more than 100 million rupees, and this because of lack of management by the police in with regards to the tender exercise?
Well, I would not be blaming the police by saying lack of management. What do you do when you launch a tender, when you have bidders, and when some are eliminated, and then when you do have bidders who have quoted excessive price? What do we do? What will the police do? They say, well, we just accept the lowest bidder, of course, but then which has quoted maybe 3, 4, 5 times the estimate. Then I'm sure the honorable member will ask the same question. Why is it now that there is a cost estimate and that we have accepted a price that is far beyond? So we have to go according to the procurement regulations. And then the tender would not materialize. Now, the second tender I mentioned in my answer, there was another bid. There was at least one bidder who satisfied the technical conditions, even the financial conditions. Right. Now, there was one issue. I think I mentioned a security performance which he was expected to furnish. On 2 occasions, that bidder asked for an extension of time. On 2 occasions, the police has agreed for the extension of time. And even after that, he was not able to provide security for performance. What do? We still go ahead and accept? Then we will be criticized. And then if something happens, we will be blaming the police. So there are, what I'm saying is, honorable member, there are circumstances, unfortunate, I must say, which has led to a time that has elapsed. And yes, the director of audit has said, in the meantime, there has been an escalation of cost because, of course, nothing is static, Mr. Speaker, sir. There has been, and as I say, now we are not going to purchase old technology, old equipment with new features. Obviously, the cost has increased. So what I'm told also that the cost estimates which has increased pertain to the project as the system is a specialized one and in view of its complexity and specificity. So it was, obviously it was difficult to get accurate cost estimate. And therefore we would wish to acquire now the latest technology that is available on the market.
So we move to the next question.
B231.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as I have stated previously in this House, it is only after 2014 that the development needs of Agaliga started to receive the attention that it really deserved as an integral part of the territory of the Republic of Mauritius. And I must say, it is thanks to the vision of the then government, led by Sir Anirudh Jagannath, that certain bold and major initiatives were taken, which set the foundation for the future development of the islands of Agaliga. We can already see today some of the very meaningful and visible changes on the island. These changes, along with those which are contemplated by this government, will continue to transform the lives of the Agaligans for the better in the years to come. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we all know, the two main infrastructures which connected the island of Agaliga to the outside world, that is, the old runway and the old jetty, had deteriorated to such an extent that they had to be put out of service. Consequently, access to the island was severely constrained. At the same time, Mauritius had to address the pressing need to reinforce its capabilities to ensure a better and more effective surveillance of our vast EEZ. There was therefore an urgent need to address these infrastructural deficiencies in order to improve sea and air connectivity in Agaliga. It is in this context that the help of the Republic of India was sought and a memorandum of understanding was signed between our two countries during the visit of His Excellency Sri Narendra Modi to Mauritius in March 2015 for the improvement of the sea and air transportation facilities at Agaliga. Subsequently, an agreement was signed in May 2017 between the Government of India and Government of Mauritius on maritime security within the framework of the Agaliga project. That agreement subsumed the understanding reached in the 2015 Memorandum of Understanding. Mr. Speaker, sir, as I have stated on several occasions in this House, the main objectives of the agreement signed with the Government of India on the infrastructural development projects in Agaliga are to improve sea and air connectivity in Agaliga and also to protect and reinforce our maritime security needs in the following areas. Amongst others, surveillance and monitoring of our vast EEZ of 2.3 million square kilometers, counter piracy, counter terrorism, counter narcotics and human trafficking, controlling poaching and illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, provision of hydrographic services, promoting economic development, including blue economy initiatives, emergency response, including search and rescue, marine pollution response, and humanitarian assistance and disaster relief activities. Mr. Speaker, sir, as the House is also aware, both the Government of India and the Government of Mauritius are bound by the clause of confidentiality contained in the agreement. But I have also, on several occasions in the past, both inside and outside the House, emphasized the fact that, notwithstanding the clause of confidentiality, the agreement signed between the Government of Mauritius and the Government of India satisfies the principles of mutual benefit as well as that of being in strict compliance with the sacrosanct principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity. Mr. Speaker, sir, in spite of all the clarifications and assurances provided by the government, it is a matter of regret that the opposition here in Mauritius have, for quite some time now, been trying to instill doubts in the minds of the people and make believe that India has no objection to make public the agreement between our two countries and insinuating that it is the government of Mauritius which is reluctant to disclose the agreement. As a matter of fact, during a press conference held on 16th of March 2024, the leaders of the three parties, which then constituted the l'Alliance de l'Espoir, stated the following with regard to the clause of confidentiality. And I quote, nous discutons avec l'en directement donc ce qui nous dit là de basé lo ban fait ça. Nous information. À plusieurs reprises, nous avons information que le gouvernement indien a un problème pour rendre ça la cola public. Unquote. Mr. Speaker, sir, that was clearly another attempt on their part to create a false and misleading impression on the Agalega project. Let me say it most emphatically. The government of India has never, directly or indirectly, officially or unofficially, given its consent to make the agreement public. On the contrary, in response to a query from the local media, the Indian High Commission in Mauritius issued a communiqué on 22nd of August 2018, in which it was highlighted that, and I quote, any statement that the government of India is willing to disclose bilateral agreements between India and Mauritius in areas including bilateral assistance projects and commercial cooperation, whereas the government of Mauritius is not willing to do so, is entirely incorrect. Unquote. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is also noteworthy that in an interview given by the former High Commissioner of the Republic of India to Mauritius, His Excellency Mr. Abhay Thakur, to l'Express newspaper published on 22nd of December 2018, the then High Commissioner, responding to a specific question regarding the involvement of India in Agalega and the disclosure of the agreement thereon with Mauritius, stated, and I quote, Project Agalega envisages development of a jetty and an airstrip on the outer island, which will improve connectivity and facilitate economic development of the island, as well as enhance our maritime security cooperation without affecting Mauritian sovereignty or freedom of movement. It is a win-win collaboration to our mutual benefit. All agreements between Mauritius and India are transparent, and India has never entered into any clandestine agreement with Mauritius, irrespective of the government in power in Mauritius. At the same time, any disclosure of agreements is also based on considerations such as protection of intellectual property and designs, commercial confidentiality, safety and security of major installations, and any other objective criteria. Subject to these considerations, all relevant information on bilateral agreements, be it the Metro Express or the line of credit or Project Agalega, has been furnished and thoroughly debated on the floor of the Mauritian National Assembly over the last 2 years. I would also like to emphasize that intellectual, commercial, or safety considerations are vital and cannot be overlooked in the name of transparency. And from the angle of foreign affairs, such disclosure cannot be sought selectively for one country or for one project alone. I would add that any statement that the government of India is willing to disclose bilateral agreements on government of India assisted projects, whereas the government of Mauritius is not willing to do so, is factually incorrect. Unquote. Mr. Speaker, sir, as at now, the government of India has not changed its stand on the question of disclosure of bilateral agreements with Mauritius, which is, after all, a question of principle and trust. I must point out here that such confidentiality clause in an agreement is not unprecedented. There were, in fact, other agreements in the past with similar confidentiality clause. The question of making the agreement on Agalega public, therefore, does not arise. Clearly, by trying to make believe that India is prepared to disclose the agreement on the Agalega projects, the opposition is acting in total bad faith and causing prejudice to the excellent and special relations that exist between Mauritius and India. That is highly regrettable and condemnable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. The Honorable Prime Minister, in his reply, stated that there were in the past, there were other agreements between the government and Mauritius and other parties with inbuilt confidentiality clauses. Can he provide more information with regard to those agreements? Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, sir, the agreement between the government of Mauritius and the government of India concerning infrastructural developments in Agalega is certainly not the first agreement bearing a confidentiality clause, which prevents the disclosure of information to third parties. There were many cases in the past where government, bound by a confidentiality clause, had not provided information requested by members of the National Assembly with regard to such agreements. On 10th of June 2008, in reply to a PNQ from Honorable Béranger, then leader of the opposition, asking the then Minister of Finance to table a copy of the agreement concerning the Tianli Jinfei project, Minister Sitanen replied as follows, and I quote, "Mr. Speaker, sir, I am unable, unfortunately, to table the framework agreement as it contains a confidentiality clause. When there is an agreement with two signatories, I have to respect. There is also la permanence de l'État. I can assure the House that whatever has been contained in the agreement and has been agreed between the two parties will be honored." Unquote. Mr. Speaker, sir, to a parliamentary question asked by late Honorable Gambo on 15th of June 2010 on whether the Minister of Finance will table a copy of the Jinfei agreement, Honorable Sitanen replied, and I quote, "I am not in a position to table the framework agreement as there is a confidentiality clause which provides that the parties to the agreement should ensure strict confidentiality on the agreement." Unquote. On 18th of December 2012, I asked a supplementary question to a question addressed by Honorable Lejongar with regard to the Jinfei project as to whether the lease needed cancellation in view of the fact that the lessee failed to complete the construction works of phase 1 within the specified time frame. The then Vice Prime Minister, Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Honorable Jubal, replying on behalf of the then government, stated, and I quote, "The member is quoting extensively from the confidential document, I presume, which we have signed as Ministry of Finance, and it says clearly that it is a confidential document and somewhere along the line something is wrong." Unquote. The then Vice Prime Minister stressed on the confidentiality of the lease agreement which could not be made public. Mr. Speaker, sir, on 8th November 2011, to a parliamentary question put by Honorable Utim on the Betamax contract, Honorable Syed Hossain, then Minister of Industry, Commerce and Consumer Protection, evoked and quoted the confidentiality clause in the said contract. Later underlying in his reply that I quote, "The confidentiality clause being what it is, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I have to respect that confidentiality clause," end of quote. On the 16th of April 2013, Honorable Utim again put a question on the Betamax contract, and in his reply, the Minister of Industry, Commerce and Consumer Protection again reminded that the contract agreement between the STC and Betamax Limited contained a confidentiality clause. On the 22nd of June 2010, Honorable Balamudi put a question, a supplementary question, to the then Minister of Housing and Lands, whether he is prepared to lay on the table of the Assembly a copy of the lease agreement between the government of Mauritius and the promoters of the Newtown project. The then minister stated, I quote, "We must see how the clauses are before I can pronounce on that," unquote. The then government always invoked a confidentiality clause and did not make that lease agreement public. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is not uncommon to have a confidentiality clause in agreements between the government of Mauritius and other parties. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, sir, the case of the agreement between Mauritius and India concerning Agalega, I must reiterate that it is intended only to promote, protect, and safeguard our maritime security needs, besides creating the conditions and socio-economic development for the socio-economic development of the islands.
I have to inform the House that ticket B235 has been withdrawn. I'm sorry, time is over. And we move to question to ministers. I will now call Honorable Tu.
B237.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to see the opportunity to once again congratulate the delegation which participated at the 13th African Games in Ghana, and particularly our 25 medalists who showcased resilience in challenging conditions, contributing to historic victories. The technical details of the competition in the different sports are currently being compiled, and our athletes will be duly rewarded, acknowledging their dedication and significant contribution to our country's sporting legacy. With your permission, Mr. Speaker, sir, I will now table the list of persons who form part of the Mauritian delegation at the 13th African Games. Thank you.
Next question, MP Amiamia.
B238. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that our High Commissioner to Maputo, Mr. J.F. Chomière, was appointed on 24th of May 2022 as High Commissioner, and the question as to parts A, B, C are now being tabled.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. At page 171 of the audit report, the director has criticized the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for inadequate controls and non-compliance with procedures. Therefore, can I ask the Honourable Minister, why is it that there were no breakdown of expenses for hotel invoices of 2.5 million rupees, which was incurred by the HICOM in Maputo?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the House will appreciate this is a very specific question as to breakdown of invoices. I will need notice of this question.
Mr. Speaker, I have another question with your permission.
Do you have a supplementary, good supplementary? Okay.
Yes, I have always very good supplementary. Yes, Mr. Speaker, when the mission launched the quotations for a fully furnished house, even if the minister doesn't have it, maybe later he can circulate it, offers for bids ranging from 3,480 USD to 5,000 USD per month was launched. But at the end of the day, there was a high value house which was rented for 7,000 USD per month, which is approximately 350,000 Mauritian rupees. Therefore, can I ask the Honorable Minister, is there not a ceiling for rent that is being set for ambassadors? I'm sure you will appreciate the question.
Once again, this is a very specific question now, but however, I wish to add, the Honourable Member will appreciate, Mr. Speaker, sir, when we rent a premises for our High Commissioners and Ambassadors, the premises have to be commensurate with the post, as well as one of the topmost priority for us is this aspect of security. We all know that the premises we prefer are located in safe and secure, as commonly called diplomatic corners, for obvious reasons, and therefore it stands to reason that those premises fetch higher prices for rent.
Next question.
B239.
Monsieur le Président, je souhaite informer l'honorable parlementaire que la mise en œuvre des projets d'investissement tombe sous la responsabilité de plusieurs organismes du gouvernement, dont entre autres les différents ministères, les collectivités locales, les corps parapublics et les state-owned companies. Le Project Implementation and Monitoring Agency, qui a été mis en place en octobre 2021, fait le lien entre les différents organismes d'implémentation de projets pour compiler les informations de l'année financière de 2018-19 à ce jour demandées par l'honorable député de Maïbo et Plaine-Magnan. Ces informations, qui concernent plusieurs milliers de projets, seront déposées à la Chambre très prochainement. Merci.
Is the Honourable Minister aware of the forward of the Director of Audit, where mention is made about two particular projects? Firstly, that 96% of the number of drain projects at the NDU have not yet been implemented. And secondly, the internet connectivity project in secondary schools have not been implemented since years back. Will the Honourable Minister direct the project monitoring unit to look into those two projects and situate that those two projects are implemented, as they are of essential to the population at large?
Monsieur le Président, je remercie l'honorable membre pour cette question supplémentaire. Je ferai le nécessaire avec l'organisme PIMA. Merci.
MP Anquil.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. B240.
Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to the efforts towards promotion of gender equality and women's empowerment to ensure that nobody is left behind, and also in our endeavor to ensure that women's rights are being respected, my ministry has deemed it crucial to enlist the support of men in that process. Subsequently, the He for She project has been conceptualized with the objective to bring about male peer groups for reflection and to take collective action for accelerated behavioral change. My ministry, with the collaboration of the Sugar Industry Labour Welfare Fund, has in the first phase spanned the project across 25 community centers across the island. Since then, my offices have conducted 9 focus group discussions with officers from the Sugar Industry Labour Welfare Fund, whereby a modus operandi was elaborated to allow all stakeholders to be fully engaged in the smooth implementation of the project. This comprised of the composition of the club, the terms of office, the fees for members, the tasks or activities assigned to each club, and the eligibility criteria for membership. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to inform the House that my ministry has elaborated a calendar of capacity building program for the focal officers of SELF and the members of the he for she clubs in order to enable them to smoothly manage their respective clubs. They would also be empowered to undertake activities in line with the tasks stated in the modus operandi accordingly. The members of the he for she clubs are also being roped in into training of the trainers program on women issues, which are being conducted by different ministries for their own enhancement. The knowledge gain will subsequently be disseminated at community level to bring about a transformational change in mindset at grassroots level. Mr. Speaker, sir, as regards part 2 of the question, I would like to inform the House that the member of the club are men aged between 18 to 55. I will be tabling details pertaining to the number of members in each club. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. Peut-on savoir de la ministre le nombre de he-for-she clubs présents en milieu urbain ainsi que celui des clubs dans les zones rurales? Merci.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in my initial reply, I did say I'm going to be tabling, but to give an aperçu of the number of clubs, for example, in the district of Rivière-du-Rempart, there are 14 clubs, there are 3 clubs already set up. Number of members in each club is as follows: 14, 14, and 12. In the district of Pamplemousse, there are 3 clubs already set up. Same for Flac, 3 again for Moka, 3 clubs. District of Plaine-Williams, there are 3 clubs again. Grand Port, 3 clubs. Savane, there are 2 of them. Black River, 3 clubs, and Port Louis, 2 clubs.
Next question. B241.
Mr. Speaker, sir, my ministry has also received a correspondence from the State and other employees federation informing that payment of overtime hasn't been effected for the last 4 to 7 months in many hospitals. Performance of overtime in the health services is regularly payable in view of the nature thereof. In this respect, relevant standing authorities approved in advance by the ministry for 6 monthly periods. In certain cases, overtime is also performed on an ad hoc basis. As for allowances, there are of 2 types, namely fixed PRB allowances, which are paid automatically on a monthly basis, and those allowances which are variable depending on work performance. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to monitoring of overtime expenses, on 24th June 2022, a circular was issued requesting, among others, head of sections to ensure that officers concerned should be informed that there should be no delay in the submission of overtime claims and processing of payment thereof. Additionally, officers are required to submit their claims within a period of 2 weeks after performance of overtime. This matter was also highlighted in another circular dated 12 September 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, however, I'm informed by the finance and HR sections across all regions of my ministry that claims for overtime and variable allowances are still being submitted by the officers with considerable delay, varying from 2 to 4 months after the overtime has been performed. In addition, claims are not duly certified, which is mandatory before the claim is processed for payment. This possibly results in payment of overtime and variable allowances with a delayed frame time of 4 to 6 months. I'm also informed that notwithstanding the above situation, eligible officers benefit from payment of overtime and allowances on a monthly basis for previous periods. Mr. Speaker, sir, amount of overtime paid from July 2023 to date is a sum of 508,917,283 rupees has been paid in respect of overtime, while a total of 961,836,393 rupees has been disbursed in respect of allowances. Mr. Speaker, sir, I also want to make to make reference to what Honorable Juman has posted on his Facebook. 14 mois pan pay overtime, chauffeur et ambulancier. L'hôpital Bruno Chong, une stratégie délibérée pour baisse niveau service pour ou al vers clinique privée. So this is completely false and demagogical. Mr. Speaker, so let me enumerate the facts that at Bruno Chong Hospital from January to March 2023, the attendance this year is 58,641. That is better compared to last year. The attendance at accident and emergency and unsorted hospital and unsorted department was 49,000. So already, this is not deliberately asking people to go to the private, but instead to come to the hospital. This year, Mr. Speaker, sir, deliveries from January 2024 till date is 310. Again, compared to last year, more deliveries being conducted in the hospital, while government has invested in a massive 2.6 billion rupees for the construction of the state-of-the-art, that is a new hospital. Again, this reflects what this honorable member is saying, that the government investing for better infrastructure and services in the public health sector. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to also highlight, especially when it concerns to contribution to allowances, government during pandemic, during COVID-19 time, has given to all frontliners, that is for the health sector, more than 14,000 officers, an allocation of 15,000 rupees. And this is again how we are protecting, how we are safeguarding the interests of officers. And Mr. Speaker, sir, last not least, to say that payment of allowances for employment Sunday. So again, these are the what the government has been doing for the officers working in the public health sector. Thank you.
Honorable Juman, let me first, before I give you supplementary question, state what is it in the standing order. Supplementary question may only be put for the further elucidation of the information requested and shall be subject to the ruling of the speaker. So go ahead, I listen to you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for closely monitoring my Facebook page. Do you find it acceptable that ambulance drivers and attendants...
No, this is asking for the opinion. In a question in Parliament, you cannot ask the opinion of a minister. I give you chance. Continue. You don't have the right to ask the opinion of a minister.
Matt, do you find, Mr. Speaker, thank you. Honorable Minister, is it true that ambulance drivers and attendants at Bruno Chong hospitals, like in other hospitals, where overtime have not been paid for the last 14 months.
Mr. Speaker, sir, because I've given in my reply why there has been a delay. The delay is because officers have not submitted their claim, and some of the officers, even if they have submitted their claim, it has to be verified, it has to be checked, and that takes 2 months to process for the payment. And at the same time, whether it is acceptable. Is it acceptable to take 4.5 years to conclude an alliance, but 4 weeks? It's not acceptable.
I have to inform the House. I have to inform the House that PQB 244, B 269 have been withdrawn. So at this stage, I'll suspend the sitting for 1.5 hours.